Hey there, everybody. How you all doing today? Listen, this is just kind of a life update. Not going to have a lot to do with raw food or any vegan-y type stuff, but it kind of connects. But this is probably going to be more for people that are already familiar with my channel, that know who I am. Probably ain't going to be a lot of interest to you if you don't know who I am, but yeah, people ask me questions here. Every time I do a video, it's funny. You don't realize like how many different people watch you. And I'm talking about here and on Instagram because I, put content out on both of them. And every time I put something, people want to know more about the story. And that's okay. That's okay. I mean, I'm not a super private person. I keep what I like to keep private. I don't reveal any more, but I'm not super private. It's just that what you see is what you get with me. And I've been thinking a lot lately because this year, especially pretty soon, I'm going to have to start making some plans, making some changes. In fact, next week, I think next week, I'm going to go talk to my realtor, and I'm going to probably put this house on the market this month. Now, ideally, and I got no plan. I got no plans at this point. I'm just starting to feel things out. Just for a little backstory, my mom will be 91 in October. She's been in the nursing home for 3 years now. So any plans I make in the near future will depend on her life. My mom, and listen, for people, I appreciate it when people ask about that. But like I just said, my mom's 91 in a nursing home. She's been there for 3 years. I appreciate when people ask me how she's doing, but there's only going to be one status update, and that's probably when she's passed away. Because it is what it is. She doesn't have any quality of life, but I'm thankful that she's not in pain, suffering, or anything like that. She's just been in the bed for the last 3 years. So anyhow, like I say, that just kind of gives you a little perspective of actually why I'm here. That's the only reason I've been in this little town here for the last 4 years. And I've let myself get really stagnant here, and it has not been a good period for me at all. And like I say, I don't begrudge it. Listen, my parents were always good to me. This is where, being around my mom's where I'm supposed to be. But this particular situation, I'm in a small town in Alabama. I don't know people, everybody I ever knew has moved on or whatever. And it's just I don't have a lot in common with people in the area, so I haven't been around people at all. So yeah, these last few years have been kind of a little bit rough, especially the last 2.5. About 2.5 years ago, I started, right after I came back from the Woodstock Fruit Festival, it was September of 2018, started kind of having this condition, or actually I think I'd had it before, I just found out what it was, called chondrocostal junction syndrome. You guys probably remember me talking about it. It gave me stiffness in my rib cage, and it gave it to a point where it kind of freaked me out. So I had almost 8 or 9 months and that's when I kind of got into this foggy thing, like brain fog, because I couldn't be comfortable. Like I'd be sitting like this, and I could sit for maybe 2 or 3 minutes, and then I'd have to stand up for a while, and then I'd have to go get in the car and drive around a little bit, and then I'd go walk around a little bit, and I had to constantly be moving. So anyhow, you go on. I'm not going to give you all the details and make it all boring, but anyhow, let's just say, and like I say, when I say isolated, when I say not around people, when I say a loner, I'm talking next level. I'm talking about, I had a conversation with the guy that does the yard here yesterday, and that's the first person I've had a conversation with in probably a month. Now I do things on the phone, what have you, take care of something or whatever, but that's not like a conversation. So for the past 4 years, or especially since my mom went in the nursing home, I've been, living in solitary confinement. I don't want to be that dramatic because I've got stimulus, I have TV, I've got internet, what have you. But yeah, it just hadn't been a real good thing for me. And then coming up last year, right about the time the pandemic started. In fact, I remember saying this in February of 2020 that I was going to, make an effort. There's a vegan group in Pensacola. I was going to start, getting down there and really focus on meeting some people, start putting out some feelers online. I was going to go ahead and buy myself a used car, but something different, new for me that would get around a little bit better. Was going to do that last February. And then all of this hit. So I was kind of at the end of my rope when all this kind of started. And then this last year, total isolation, it's been rough. So I put the house on the market this month. Now, ideally, I hear the market's really good right now. Although I'm in a small town, so everywhere when you hear about a real estate market, it depends on where you are. Like, you can't just say, oh, the market's good. I'm in a small town. But my realtor actually kind of, when I first mentioned to her that I was going to be coming to her in a couple of months, she was like all excited. In fact, she kind of gave me anxiety. She sounds like she can sell it pretty quick, which I don't want. Because crunching the numbers on my mom's care in the nursing home and everything else, all the bills around her, there's enough, like, ideally, which you're not, I can't just dictate it like that, but ideally the house would sell and I would move out of here right at the end of this. Well, ideally I'd move out about February of 2022. But I got to be prepared. Once it goes on the market, that thing can sell. And I'm going to try to get a as long of a closing period as possible, but got to start making some plans. Which that means, like I say, then it's wide open because, when the house sells and I'm ready to move out of here if my mom's still alive, I can't just go anywhere and just be, move away for good. So I either have to, find something in this area, and I don't really want to get a lease. I don't want to get an apartment. I don't have credit. I lived out of the country for 20 years. They do a credit check and all that kind of stuff. I'm not going to do it, and I don't want to do that anyway. So I'm looking into different options. I'm just starting to put feelers out there now. There's a number of things. Like I say, I don't have any encumbrances. I don't have, I never was married, don't have kids, nothing, other than my mom, that's it. So, after this, I could, one thing I do know is I'm not an island, and this loner shit this is enough. Even though, I tell you guys it works for the food part of it because, you're not tempted around other people. You don't have to share space with people that don't eat like you. But, and I don't know if I've ever put it exactly like this to you or if you've put two and two together, but since I went vegan in 2012, except for a couple of periods of time, well, no, I've been a loner for 9 years. For 9 damn years. No, 9 years I've been a loner. And that's just no good. Now, when I was in Costa Rica, when I first went vegan, and I was in Costa Rica for little yet less than a year after I went vegan. So during that time, I was working a job. I worked mostly from home, but I did go to the office a few times a week. And I did go and watch sports in this sports bar because that was part of my job. I was writing sports. But very little contact when I was in San Jose, Costa Rica. Then I moved to the beach. Now I knew people in Jaco, in this little surf town where I lived most of the time that I lived in Costa Rica. But I'm still, life was different. I was a drunk. When I left that little surf town and went to the city, I was a drunk. When I came back, I was sober, living vegan. So I wasn't sitting at on a bar stool anymore where most of my socializing came from. I had my friends, but most of my friends in Jaco, Costa Rica, are family people. They have wives, they have kids, they have all that kind of stuff. So I had friends, I would go get a coffee with in the morning, or I had a buddy, really good buddy of mine. I'd go, see him in his office every day. He actually worked at that place I worked down there for a while, that side job I had at the School of the World. So I had, and I had roommates, I had roommates along the way. Not that I interacted a ton with the roommates. It was more of a roommate situation, but I did have contact. And Jaco's a small little town where you walk around town and there's just full of people on the sidewalks. People are sitting on their porches in the neighborhoods. So, but still not a lot of contact. Then I moved to that mountain on the beach in Costa Rica, and I was totally by myself. There was a Costa Rican that helped me out there. He'd come every once in a while, but I'd go a couple of weeks sometimes without a conversation, and then I come back to the States, and then boom. So now the time starts adding up, and I start getting a little batty. So I told you, if you don't know me, you're probably already bored with this, but people ask. So the number one thing when I am wherever, even just the initial leaving from here, let's say I go here, my mom's still alive and I'm not making a major change yet. I want to be around people. I want to be around community. I want to be around where I can interact with people. I mean, so there's any number of things that I'm floating around in my head. I could, number one would just be go to an area with a decent sized vegan community. But then once again, I got to figure out where to live. I don't want to get tied down, because eventually, let me throw a little other knot into there. I don't know that I'll go back down there to live 12 months a year, but eventually when my mom, when things are settled up, I'm going back down to Latin America, probably Costa Rica, but could be somewhere in South America. I've even considered Colombia. Feel for them right now. They're having a lot of problems right now, some political stuff, but I'm going to be back down in Latin America, so I don't want to set down roots here, or, I don't want to get tied in with anything here. So I don't know. When I leave here, I might go find people that want to create content together. Who knows? Maybe somebody will watch one of my videos and say, hey, what? I got a big house, I got room, I create content, or I want to create content. I'm open to things, I would be open to, probably not, I thought about maybe even pitching to somebody to doing a podcast. They would have to have chops. They'd have to be comfortable, talking and not have to be led by the nose. But another content creator that wanted to do a podcast or something, but a podcast, that might be difficult, me bouncing back and forth from Latin America to here. And I don't know how much bouncing will be done eventually. So, I mean, any number of things. Like I say, I'm going to some message boards. I'm getting newsletters, animal sanctuaries. I wouldn't mind reaching out to just other content creators on Instagram, different places, because there's a synergy about crossing over. Like, I wouldn't mind working with animal sanctuaries, other vegan groups, other raw foodists. I'm dabbling with the idea right now, and that I've got to kind of... and it's kind of got my brain tied up, because, like I say, I need to buy an automobile, but I've been dabbling with the idea, and I've been looking every single day, on the internet at travel trailers, these little fifth wheel. Like, at first I was looking at fifth wheels. I didn't know what a fifth wheel actually meant, but you have to have a pickup for that. But I'm looking at smaller travel trailers that I could live in. Now, I'm not really, I'm going to... Like I say, if I do that, I'll be living out of it. So I'm not looking to necessarily travel a lot and boondock and just do 3 nights here and 4 nights there. I've got a number of people I know if that worked out, I'd like to find somebody that had land. If you've got a bigger piece of land, or just more, hell, even an acre of land where I wouldn't be in the way. Maybe I could park that there and hang out. But like I say, that's a part of it more than just being, okay, what are the opportunities out of it? I want to be around people. I'd like to be around vegans. I'd like to be around raw vegans. The raw, I'm not like putting a whole lot of emphasis on that. And there's other boxes that need to be checked, because, years back I thought it was just, if we're all raw vegans, we'll get along and we can have a community. I've found out I don't think I do good in a living situation with a lot of the raw vegans out there. But yeah, so that's a possibility. Finding somebody else out there that potentially, like I say, wanted to have a old crazy looking roommate like me, but just kind of trading off. Like I say, I'm just bouncing ideas right now. I like things. I like creative, energetic people. I'm, like I say, putting out some feelers online, and I'm hoping somebody's going to come at me and throw something and say, hey, why don't we do this? Or, hey, I've got this, and this. There's animal rescues. There is a real good dog rescue once I can get back to Costa Rica, and that's something else. I know I'm jumping around a lot, but that's what's going on in my head right now. There's no concrete plans. There's also the possibility too, depending on the travel situation, whatever, when I sell this house, that I would go, depending if my mom's okay and I could go away for, say, a month or two, is going back down to Costa Rica and creating a lot of content, just like taking a month or two, creating a ton of content, working with an animal sanctuary. There's a dog rescue down there. There's a huge dog rescue in the mountains. It's got like 800 rescues. I'd like to use my platform, mix with other people's platforms, and, do some work with these sanctuaries and rescues and what have you. A vegan restaurant. I'd love to find, I've got a friend in North Alabama with a food truck. I would love to, if people have vegan restaurants or other vegan businesses, I would love to come interact. In other words, like, I'm not trying to sponge off of you. I'd like to create. I'd like to show what you've got. You show what I've got. We interact. But yeah, so I'm, like I say, I'm just kind of wide open. In a way, it's kind of scary because over these 9 years, and especially the last 4 being kind of insulated and isolated here in a small town, I got a lot of shit in my head. I've got like I say, I'm not comfortable sharing everything, but my head hasn't been right. And I've had, like I've told you in the past, I've had a lot of anxiety, and this causes me a lot of anxiety. And getting out of this house causes me a lot of anxiety. I mean, my parents, I'm 57. My parents, we moved into this house when I was about 3 or 4 months old. So I've always had a base to go to. Once this is sold, I got no base. My mom's gone. I got no base. I got no foundation. Don't have brothers and sisters. So it's a little bit scary. It's a little bit intimidating, but I need to go ahead and start moving. I've been paralyzed. I haven't accomplished, I'll be honest with you, come to Jesus moment, I haven't accomplished anything in the past 2.5 years because I've been just wandering around in a fog. I've been paralyzed. And as I was laying in bed last night and thinking about, like going and doing certain things, I'm like, you need to do this soon because you're going to get to be one of these people that's got issues. Like, I'm not agoraphobic, like I'm afraid to go out of the house. I mean, I bounce all around town, but I could see getting to a version of that if I'm not careful. I was watching something last night, and then I'll finish it up. I'm just kind of rambling. I was watching something last night, and it was in New York City, and I'm like, I almost had a panic attack looking at some of that stuff. I'm like, I have gotten so, like, I think I'd have a panic attack if I went to a city like a New York, a Chicago, a Boston, or something like that. I could handle Miami. I lived in Miami. Miami's kind of like Latin America. I feel comfortable there. I miss that. I miss that. I like Latin America, and there is a simulation of there's a lot of people from Latin America in Miami, so I could handle Miami. But and like I say, the timing is going to make me do it. But if I don't make some moves here pretty soon, I'm going to be one of these that's kind of maybe a shut-in in his house somewhere. So yeah, I'm about to go back. I'm going to look at some more trailers and stuff. But then I'll finish with this. Here's the dilemma on if I found a good trailer, because I found a couple of cheaper ones that I could buy and maybe pay somebody to do some work on. God knows I don't know how to do anything like that, but I have to figure out what kind of automobile I'm going to get. I've been looking at Hyundai Santa Fe's, and a Santa Fe, from what I've researched, can tow up to 3,000, 3,500 pounds, which would be a smaller trailer. Don't really want to buy a truck because I want the gas mileage of that Santa Fe. So I've got to kind of decide what vehicle, because the vehicle, like what kind of trailer I have, if I have a trailer, is going to bear on that decision. So anyhow, I'm just kind of telling you where my head is. In other words, though, one thing is for sure, there's definitely going to have to be some changes just out of necessity. House going to go on the market. And after that, I'm going to continue kind of just like cleaning things out here, getting things ready. And when it happens, it happens. But anyhow, like I say, if there's anybody still here at this point, I'd be surprised. But people ask me questions, and then sometimes I say, well, why would anybody care? And somebody will send me a message saying, well, people want to know. And I'm like, well, I'm like I say, I'm happy to share. So anyhow, I hope you enjoyed that. If you like, hey, maybe you got a project or something out there, let me know. I'm probably going to be difficult to deal with early on because I'm kind of like a wild animal that you've got to bring in and kind of tame them a little bit. But anyhow, see you guys.